Lisa never imagined that love could ruin her life. At 18 years old, she had been just like every other teenage girl in Greenfield Community Secondary School, full of dreams, laughter, and innocent excitement about the future. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Betrayal. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and share this video to your friends and loved ones, and don't forget to turn on post notifications for more videos. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. She had grown up in a small village where everyone knew each other. Life was simple. School, church, home. That was the routine. She had never worried about boys or relationships. But that changed the moment she met James. James was her classmate, tall, quiet, and just as naive as she was. They were in the same SS3 class, preparing for their final exams. Lisa had never really noticed him until one day, their English teacher paired them for a class project. It started as innocent friendship. They would stay after school, working on their assignments. They would laugh over silly jokes, share snacks, and walk home together. Then one evening, James held her hand. She had felt something strange that day, something she couldn't explain. It was warm, exciting, yet scary. James confessed that he liked her. Lisa had blushed hard, unsure of what to say. But deep down, she liked him too. And that was the beginning of everything. Love that felt right, until it wasn't. Lisa and James became inseparable. They walked home together, shared lunch, and even whispered secrets in class. The village elders often warned young girls to stay away from love until after marriage. But Lisa thought, what's the worst that could happen? One evening, after school, James invited Lisa to his house. His parents were away, and they had the whole place to themselves. Lisa hesitated. I don't think I should be here. James smiled and took her hands. I just want to be with you. That's all. Lisa believed him. But one moment led to another, and before they knew it, they had crossed a line they never imagined crossing. It happened only once. They never talked about it afterward, pretending nothing had changed. Lisa convinced herself it was just a mistake. She focused on school, determined to pass her final exams and make her mother proud. But fate had other plans. Weeks later, Lisa noticed she was feeling different. She was always tired. She couldn't eat properly. She felt nauseous every morning. At first, she thought it was just stress from preparing for her final exams. But when she missed her monthly period, fear gripped her heart. She knew what it meant. Panicked, she went to her best friend, Cynthia. Lisa, this is serious, Cynthia whispered after hearing her story. You need to check. Lisa's heart pounded. I can't. What if it's true? But Cynthia didn't let her escape reality. They secretly bought a pregnancy test from a small chemist in the village. That night, Lisa locked herself in the bathroom, hands trembling as she waited for the result. When she saw 2 pink lines, she nearly fainted. Pregnant. Lisa couldn't breathe. This was not happening. She was just 18. She was supposed to be writing her final exams, not having a baby. Tears streamed down her face as her whole world crashed. Lisa ran to James the next morning, desperate for comfort. She found him behind the school building, laughing with his friends. She pulled him aside. James, I need to talk to you. The smile on his face faded when he saw the fear in her eyes. What's wrong? Lisa swallowed hard. I'm pregnant. James took a step back as if she had slapped him. What? Lisa's lips trembled. I took a test. It's positive. James stared at her in shock. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Finally, he said, Are you sure it's mine? Lisa's heart shattered into a million pieces. What did you just say? She whispered. James ran a hand through his hair. Lisa, I don't know what to say. We only did it once. Are you sure? Lisa felt like throwing up, not from pregnancy but from pain. She never expected this from James. She thought he loved her. She thought they would face this together. But she was wrong. I can't do this, James muttered, stepping back. I have my future to think about. Lisa's hands clenched into fists. And what about me? Do I not have a future too? James shook his head. I'm sorry, Lisa, but I can't help you. And just like that, he walked away. Lisa stood there, watching the boy she loved turn his back on her. Tears blurred her vision. She never felt so alone in her life. The news spread quickly. By the next week, the whole village knew Lisa was pregnant. People whispered whenever she passed. Some called her foolish. Others called her a disgrace. Lisa's mother, Mrs. Johnson, was devastated. She scolded Lisa every day, but deep down, she was just hurt. She couldn't bear to see her daughter suffer, so she made a decision. "You will go to Lagos," her mother said one evening. "You will stay with my sister. You cannot remain here." Lisa couldn't argue. She had no choice. A week later, she packed her few belongings and left for the city. Her Aunt Mary was a wealthy woman who owned a large clothing business in Lagos. She wasn't happy about the pregnancy, but she agreed to take Lisa in. "You made a mistake," Aunt Mary told her. "But crying won't solve anything. If you're going to be a mother, you need to be strong." Lisa wiped her tears and nodded. Her new life began at the market, selling clothes. It was exhausting. The sun was harsh, the customers were rude, and the work never ended. But Lisa refused to give up. She worked every day, even with her growing belly. She hated men. She hated love. She swore to herself that she would never trust a man again. Months passed. Lisa gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Emily. Looking into her daughter's eyes, she made a promise. "You will never suffer like I did," she whispered. She returned to work just weeks after childbirth, learning everything she could about the business. Years passed, and Lisa became one of the best traders in Lagos. She saved every penny. She expanded her business. By the time Emily was 15 years old, Lisa was a successful woman. She owned 3 shops and was respected in the market. But Emily wasn't satisfied. "Mom," she said one night, "I want a sibling." Lisa frowned. "What?" Emily smiled. "I don't want to be alone. Even if you don't want to marry, can you at least have another child?" Lisa's heart ached. She had tried so hard to build a new life. Now, history wanted to repeat itself? She didn't know what to say. But then, fate intervened. And it came in the form of a crying boy outside a shopping mall. Lisa never thought one moment outside a shopping mall would change her life again. It was a busy Friday evening, and the streets of Lagos were full of activity. Vendors shouted, cars honked, and people hurried to finish their shopping. Lisa had just parked her car outside Crystal Mall to buy some groceries when she noticed something unusual. A young boy, around 15 years old, sat near the entrance, crying. Lisa was in a hurry, but something about him made her stop. His clothes were dirty, and he looked hungry. For a moment, she hesitated. She wasn't the type to get involved in people's problems anymore. But then she heard his soft, broken sobs. Her heart softened. She walked toward him. "Hey, what's wrong?" The boy sniffed and wiped his face quickly. "Nothing, Ma." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "You're sitting on the floor, crying in front of a shopping mall, and you expect me to believe it's nothing?" The boy looked away, ashamed. Lisa sighed. "Where are your parents?" "I don't have any," he mumbled. She frowned. "What do you mean?" The boy hesitated, then whispered, "I'm an orphan." Lisa felt a small squeeze in her chest. She had always imagined orphans as children in movies or books, but here was one sitting right in front of her. "What happened to your parents?" she asked gently. The boy hesitated, then looked up at her with red, tired eyes. "I don't remember my mother. I was just a baby when she died," he said. "My father left me. I don't know if he's dead or alive." Lisa felt another sharp sting in her heart. "My name is David," he continued. "A woman found me on the streets when I was little. She promised to take care of me." Lisa nodded, listening carefully. "But she lied," David said bitterly. "She made me work like a slave. I cooked, cleaned, and did all the housework. She would beat me if I made mistakes. She barely gave me food." Lisa's hands clenched into fists. She knew what it was like to suffer. "I ran away," David whispered. "I don't want to go back." Lisa stared at him for a long time. She saw herself in him. The pain, the betrayal, the fear of being alone. And then, before she could stop herself, she asked, "Where do you sleep?" David lowered his head. Anywhere I can find. Lisa sighed and shook her head. This boy had nowhere to go. No food. No family. She remembered the way Emily always asked for a sibling. And in that moment, a crazy thought entered Lisa's mind. What if I take him in? Lisa never made decisions without thinking them through. But that night, she found herself buying David food, new clothes, and taking him to the hospital. When she got home, Emily's eyes widened in shock as she saw the boy standing beside her mother. "Mom?" Emily asked, looking from David to Lisa.
"Who is this?"
Lisa placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "His name is David. From today, he will be living with us." Emily's mouth dropped open. "What?" Lisa sighed. "He has no one. No family. He needs a home." Emily stared at David, then at her mother. Finally, a huge smile spread across her face. "So, does this mean I have a brother now?" Lisa smiled for the first time that day. Yes. David adjusted quickly to his new life. Lisa enrolled him in Emily's school and made sure he had everything he needed. At first, he was quiet and shy, but as time passed, he became more comfortable. Emily and David became inseparable. They studied together, watched movies, and played games. For the first time in his life, David felt like he belonged. Lisa was happy. She felt like she had done the right thing. But she had no idea what was happening behind closed doors. Emily and David were always together. At first, Lisa thought it was just normal sibling bonding. But then she started noticing things. The way they looked at each other. The way Emily blushed when David smiled at her. Lisa ignored it. They're just kids, she told herself. They'll grow out of it. But she was wrong. One afternoon, Lisa left for the market. David and Emily stayed home alone. It started as a harmless game, laughing, teasing, playing. But then, things went too far. By the time Lisa returned home that evening, she noticed something strange. Emily wouldn't look her in the eyes. David was quiet and distant. Lisa felt uneasy, but she brushed it off. Until, a month later, everything fell apart. Lisa woke up early one morning to the sound of vomiting. She rushed to Emily's room, only to find her daughter hunched over the toilet. Lisa's heart dropped. "Emily, are you okay?" Emily wiped her mouth and nodded quickly. "Yes, Mom. I think I just ate something bad." Lisa frowned. "Are you sure?" Emily forced a smile. "I'm fine." But Lisa wasn't convinced. For the next few days, she watched her daughter closely. Emily was always tired. She refused to eat certain foods. And then Lisa noticed the most terrifying sign. Her daughter hadn't gotten her monthly period. Lisa's stomach tightened. She grabbed Emily by the wrist. "We're going to the hospital." Emily tried to argue, but Lisa didn't listen. An hour later, they sat in a small clinic. When the doctor walked in with the test results, Lisa held her breath. The doctor looked at her and sighed. "Mrs. Lisa, your daughter is pregnant." Lisa's entire world collapsed. The car ride home was silent. Lisa didn't say a word. When they reached the house, she turned to Emily, voice shaking.
"Who?" she asked.
"Who got you pregnant?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. She looked down, refusing to speak. Lisa's patience snapped. "Tell me the truth, Emily." Emily burst into tears. "It's David," she whispered. Lisa's heart stopped. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Everything spun around her. The boy she had rescued. The son she had raised. The child she had given a new life. He had betrayed her. Her daughter, the one she had tried so hard to protect, had disappointed her. She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. But most of all, she wanted to fix this. Lisa knew one thing for sure. She could never abandon them. But she also knew life would never be the same again. Lisa sat in her bedroom, staring at the ceiling. She felt empty. How did this happen? She had taken David in as her own son, raised him, fed him, clothed him, and given him a better life. She had worked so hard to protect Emily from making the same mistake she did. And yet, here they were. Emily, just 15 years old, was pregnant. Lisa closed her eyes, her mind flashing back to when she was 18 and in the same situation. She had been young, naive, and in love. She had thought her baby's father would stand by her, but he ran away instead. Now her own daughter had repeated history. The worst part? The boy responsible was David, the one she had saved. Lisa felt betrayed, hurt, and angry, but she couldn't change the past. The only question now was, what next? Lisa stormed into David's room. David was sitting on his bed, staring at the floor, his face pale with guilt. Lisa's voice was cold and sharp. "David, look at me." David slowly lifted his head, his eyes filled with fear. Lisa took a deep breath. "Tell me the truth. Did you force her?" David's eyes widened in shock.
No, Ma.
"I swear I didn't force her." Lisa clenched her fists. "Then explain yourself. How did this happen?" David swallowed hard.
I don't know, Ma.
"We were just talking, and then it just happened." Lisa shook her head, disappointed beyond words. "You were supposed to be her brother, not her lover." David lowered his head in shame. "I'm sorry."
Lisa scoffed.
"Sorry? Do you know what you've done? You have ruined her life. Just like mine was ruined at 18. Tears rolled down David's cheeks. "I swear I never meant to hurt her. I love her." Lisa's anger boiled. "Love," she spat. "Do you know what love is? Love is responsibility. Love is respect. Love is not ruining a girl's future." David started crying. "Please forgive me, Ma." Lisa took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. She wanted to throw him out. She wanted to scream. But what would that change? The damage was already done. Lisa went to Emily's room. Emily was lying on her bed, her eyes red from crying. Lisa sat beside her. Emily looked at her mother with fear and guilt. "Mom, please don't hate me," she whispered. Lisa's heart softened. She touched Emily's hair gently. "I don't hate you, my love." Emily sniffed. "I didn't plan this. I didn't think it would happen." Lisa sighed. "That's the problem, Emily. You didn't think." Emily wiped her tears. "What do we do now?" Lisa stared at the wall for a long time before speaking. "We move forward," she finally said. "We can't change the past, but we can learn from it." Emily nodded slowly. Lisa held her daughter's hand. "I will be here for you, but you have to be strong. This won't be easy." Emily hugged her mother tightly. "I love you, Mom," she whispered. Lisa swallowed her tears and whispered back, "I love you too." The next few weeks were hard. Lisa had to face the stares, the whispers, the disappointment. She had spent years building her name as a successful businesswoman. Now, people called her the woman who raised a son who got her daughter pregnant. Some even suggested she throw David out. But Lisa wasn't that kind of person. David had nowhere else to go. And most importantly, he was still just a boy. Lisa made a decision. She would train him to be a man. If he was going to be the father of Emily's child, he needed to be responsible. Lisa sat David down one evening. "You made a mistake," she said. "But what matters now is how you handle it." David nodded. "I know, Ma. I want to take care of Emily and the baby." Lisa studied his face. "Then you need to learn how to work," she said. "You can't rely on me forever." David looked determined. "I'll do anything." Lisa smiled for the first time in weeks.
"Good," she said.
"Because starting tomorrow, you'll be working with me in the market." David's eyes widened. "Really?" Lisa nodded. "You will learn the trade. You will learn how to make money. Because when this baby comes, you need to be a man." David started working with Lisa at the market. At first, it was hard. Waking up early, carrying goods, talking to customers, it was nothing like school. But David didn't complain. He worked hard. He learned fast. Slowly, Lisa began to see a change in him. He was no longer just a boy. He was becoming a man. Meanwhile, Emily was dealing with her pregnancy. She faced morning sickness, mood swings, and tiredness. But she never gave up. She continued her education from home, determined not to make the same mistakes as her mother. Lisa was proud of her. Even though she was young, she was strong. 9 months later, Emily gave birth to a baby boy. Lisa held her grandson for the first time, tears streaming down her face. It was a bittersweet moment. She had once hated the idea of Emily getting pregnant so young. But now, as she held the tiny baby in her arms, she felt nothing but love. David stood beside her, his eyes shining with pride and responsibility. Lisa looked at him and nodded. "Take care of them," she said softly. David swallowed and nodded. "I will, Ma. I promised." Over the next few years, things slowly got better. David became a successful businessman. Emily returned to school and later started her own clothing brand. Lisa watched them grow, and for the first time, she felt peace. She had once sworn never to love a man again. She had once sworn to protect her daughter from making the same mistakes. Life didn't go the way she planned, but in the end, everything worked out. Lisa looked at her family, her daughter, her grandson, and the boy she once took in as a son. She smiled. Maybe, just maybe, fate had a plan all along. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this story. Thanks for watching.